Hey Pixies! Today we're looking at Revel's full coverage flake dip, and I got Rhapsody. It is so beautiful. I can't wait for you to see it. And we're also using one of Revel's mood changers, Teplo. It's in a bag because my good friend Izabelle from Instagram, we decided to kind of trade some of our dips, and that's one that she sent to me. I'll link her Instagram down below. She's the absolute sweetest, so give her a follow if you're on Instagram and enjoy manicures. We're also using Double Dips dip liquids and clear dip powder to encapsulate. So first we're going to get started by applying our double dip base, which for them is step number 2. The first one I think is a primer. I'm not sure, I've never used it, but this would be step number 2, the red handled bottle. And I'm applying that to the entire nail and then pouring Teplo over that nail, tapping off any of the excess, and then using a toothpick to clean up my cuticle area. And we're going to do those same steps on my pinky, so applying the dip base, pouring over the color, tapping off any excess, and then using the toothpick to clean up our cuticle area. You want to make sure you clean up your cuticle area before the powder starts to harden, and I'm just running it on the skin very lightly around. I'm not actually going on the nail typically. And we're going to then, I dusted that off with a stiff nail brush. And now I'm going to repeat those steps. This color is so beautiful. I wish I actually had bought this set because this color was gorgeous. And I actually kept this manicure on for 5 days. So usually I change them every 2 days. And sometimes I'm doing my nails every day. So I changed my other hand more frequently, and I kept this one because I loved both of these dips so much. So usually what I do is I will do the pour over method for the first dip and then lay my finger into the powder for the second, unless it's a very sheer dip. Then I will lay into it, usually both times. That way I'm just getting that full saturation. But look at Rhapsody. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's very fine. So when I poured it into that cupcake liner, there was glitter floating like all through the air. So it's a little messy, but otherwise absolutely gorgeous. But I am going to apply the dip base, and I decided to lay my finger into it because I was hoping to only do one dip, but I do decide to do a second one. So if I were to use this dip powder again, I would probably pour over for the first one and then lay my finger into it for the second one. I didn't know if I was going to need 2 dips or if one would suffice. But once I lay my finger into that powder, I tap off the excess, clean up the cuticle area, and then I pat down any of those little flakies to try to get them to lay flat. Now I will say that not only was this dip powder a little messy, but I had to do a lot of buffing and filing to make it smooth. So here I am dusting it off with that stiff nail brush. And for this second layer, I apply the dip base, and before I put it back in the jar, I wipe off my base brush on a paper towel before I put it back on, because if you are using any kind of glitters that are sticking to those bristles on the brush and you put it back in your bottle, you will contaminate your whole bottle with glitter. And then whenever you're doing a solid manicure, you may end up with glitter, random glitter pieces on there. And that would drive me crazy. So I'm wiping off that brush and trying to make sure it's as clean as possible before I put it back in. So I'm just repeating the same exact steps. I'm putting the dip base on, wiping my brush off before I put it back in the bottle, laying my finger into the powder, and then I am tapping off the excess, cleaning up the cuticle area, and using my finger to try to lay it as flat as possible. So once I'm done there, I'm using that stiff nail brush to give it a really good scrub to try to get off any excess powders. So the stiff nail brush is my favorite to use because it really gets in there and gets off any excess powder and helps you so that you don't have any of those little fine powder pigments still on the nail. when you are applying your next layers or activating, because that will just soak it right in. So I like to use that stiff nail brush. And now we are going to encapsulate in clear. So I'm applying that dip base and I'm laying my finger into the clear, still cleaning up the cuticle area. And sometimes my clear dip powder, it takes a little bit to set, but I don't dip my finger back in a second time, because when I did that before to try to soak up the extra liquid, it actually made my glitter cloudy then doing the additional dip. So typically if it's not set yet, I just give it a couple of minutes before I dust it off and move on to activating, because I do not want to ruin this beautiful glitter by doing an extra dip. Now, like I said, I did have a lot of buffing and filing to do, so it did not go on real smooth. However, after I buffed and filed, reshaped, and did all of that, it did take a good bit of effort, but it was smooth then. You'll see pictures at the end, and if you're on my Instagram, I'll have multiple angles and stuff, and you can see that it was smooth then. The finished result was, at least. So once it is all set, I use that stiff nail brush to really get that excess clear dip powder off. And now we're going to activate, which is what hardens all of the powders. So I do a good dose of activator, making sure I get the entire nail. And then I wait about 2 minutes and then I buff, file, and reshape. So look at the color change with Teplo. It is so pretty. This is where I have already buff, filed, and reshaped. I did that off camera. Now we're applying our second layer of activator. So after I'm done buffing and filing, I use an alcohol prep pad just to clean up any of that excess from the buffing and filing, any of the nail dust. And once I apply that second layer of activator, I give it about a minute or so, and then I use a paper towel to wipe off any excess. Now we're going to move on to our top coat. So I'm going to do 2 to 3 quick brush strokes per nail, and try to remember to wipe your brush off in between putting it back in the bottle so that your brush does not harden on you or contaminate your top coat bottle. But this first coat is just a real quick 2 to 3 brush strokes per nail. And then with double dip, it's about 30 seconds, and then it'll start to look a little crinkly and matte. That's when I go in with the second layer of top coat. So this second layer of top coat can be more detailed. If you want your manicure to last longer, make sure you're capping your free ends, and that will just help prevent any lifting from the free edge. So I am just doing that top coat, making sure I'm getting the entire nail, and like I said, you would cap your free ends here as well. So then it takes about 1 to 2 minutes to completely dry. But overall, I really enjoyed both of these powders. The Flake Dip, like I said, is a little difficult, or at least it was for me to use, but the end result worked out just fine. You just have to be a little extra careful with it, and there is our final result. So absolutely love it, and the double dip top coat is so shiny. I will have everything linked down below, as well as discount codes. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. To see more content, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. I have new videos every Monday and Thursday. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, or you can find me on Instagram at Dipping Pixie. I also have a TikTok, which is Dipping Pixie, and both of those will be linked down below as well. That's it for this one, guys, and I will see you in the next one.